Chosen one, God is crushing plots against you. You are exhausted, not the kind of tired a long weekend can fix, but a deep, bone-weary ache that settles into your soul when you've been fighting a silent battle for entirely too long. You are standing right on the edge of giving up. Have you ever felt that invisible, crushing weight dragging you down? I want to hear your real story in the comments below, because this space is for honest conversations. Let's talk about the silence. The unbearable, heavy silence that fills a room after you've given absolutely everything you have. You know that silence. It is a quiet that creeps in at 2 in the morning when the world is asleep and your mind is running a marathon of doubts. You stare at the ceiling. You trace the shadows on the wall. And you wonder for the 100th time if you made a massive mistake. If maybe, just maybe, you aren't meant to win this one. Society loves a good montage. We love the highlight reels. We love to watch the hero get knocked down, wipe the blood from their cheek, and immediately rise back up to conquer the world in a tight 3-minute sequence set to an inspiring, thumping soundtrack. But real life doesn't have a soundtrack. Real life has Tuesday afternoons. Real life has gray, rainy Thursday mornings where your coffee is cold, your inbox is full, and the mountain you're trying to climb hasn't gotten a single inch smaller. It is in these thoroughly unglamorous moments where the real battle is fought. And right now you are losing steam. I know you are. You've been carrying this vision, this hope, or this relentless drive for so long that your shoulders have permanently bowed under the weight of it. You have sacrificed. You have said no to the easy path. You have poured your time, your tears, and your dwindling resources into this invisible seed you planted in the dirt, waiting for just one green shoot to break the surface. But the dirt just looks like dirt. Nothing is growing. Nothing is changing. The people around you don't really get it. They mean well. They pat you on the back and offer hollow platitudes. Keep your chin up. Everything happens for a reason. Just stay positive. You smile and nod, playing the part of the good soldier. But inside you want to scream. Because toxic positivity doesn't pay the toll this journey is exacting on your spirit. You don't need a cheerleader right now. You need a lifeline. You need to know that you aren't just walking in circles in a pitch-black forest, entirely lost. The hardest part of this specific journey isn't the physical effort. It is the psychological warfare. It is the daily act of waking up, looking at a reality that directly contradicts your dreams, and choosing to step forward anyway. That takes a profound, almost terrifying amount of courage. And yet, the longer it takes, the heavier the doubt becomes. It starts as a whisper, a tiny, nagging voice in the back of your mind that asks, what if you were just fooling yourself? Over time, that whisper becomes a deafening shout. It points to your bank account. It points to your calendar. It points to the people your age who seem to be effortlessly sailing through life, hitting milestones, buying houses, getting promotions, seemingly untouched by this grueling friction you face every single day. Comparison sets in like a sickness in your bones. You watch them celebrate their victories, and while you genuinely try to be happy for them, a cold, dark resentment begins to pool in the pit of your stomach. Why them? Why is it so easy for them? Why is your path covered in broken glass and dead ends? You start to feel fundamentally flawed. You begin to believe that the universe has simply overlooked you, or worse, that it is actively working against you. You feel forgotten. This is a descent. This is the valley of the shadow. It is freezing down here. It is isolating. It strips away every single ounce of your ego and leaves you completely exposed to the elements of your own deep-seated insecurity. You remember the exact moment you felt something snap inside you, the moment the resilience finally gave way to apathy. Apathy is the real danger, isn't it? It isn't sadness. Sadness is an active emotion. Sadness means you still care. No. The terrifying moment is when you look at a mountain you have been climbing, you sit down in the dirt, and you simply stop caring if you ever reach the peak. You sit in your car in the driveway for 10 minutes before walking inside, just staring at the steering wheel. You are trying to summon the energy to put on a brave face for your family, or your roommates, or even just your dog. You are so incredibly tired of being strong. You are tired of being the resilient one. You are tired of constantly bouncing back. Sometimes you just want to lie down on the cold floor and let the world spin without you for a while. You want permission to drop the heavy armor. You want someone to look at you, see the absolute exhaustion in your eyes, and say, "You don't have to fight today. I've got you." But you don't drop it. You keep dragging yourself forward, inch by agonizing inch, running purely on fumes and a stubborn, fading flicker of hope that refuses to completely extinguish. Even when logic tells you to surrender, even when the evidence screams that it is over, there's a tragic, hidden beauty in this kind of endurance. It goes completely unrewarded by the outside world. There are no trophies for waking up with a heavy heart and simply doing the dishes. There are no medals for sending out one more application after 80 painful rejections. There are no parades for quietly surviving a day where your own mind was your worst enemy. You do these things in absolute, crushing silence. And because nobody sees it, you convince yourself that it doesn't matter. You convince yourself that you are failing. You look at your empty hands and assume you have lost a war. But what if those empty hands are not a sign of your defeat? What if they are simply being emptied out so they can hold something much, much heavier? I want you to think about the skyline of a massive city like New York or Chicago. Imagine colossal, gleaming skyscrapers stretching high into the clouds, catching the golden hour light, reflecting the sun for miles. It is a monument of triumph. It is visible to everyone. It commands a horizon. But you do not start building a skyscraper by reaching for sky. You start by digging into the dirt. You bring in heavy machinery, and you tear open the earth. You dig a massive, ugly, gaping hole in the ground. You spend months, and sometimes even years, doing nothing but moving backward. You go deeper and deeper and deeper into the dark. If a stranger were to walk past that construction site during the first year, they wouldn't see a magnificent tower. They would look through the chain-link fence and see a muddy, chaotic pit. They would see a mess. They might even think the project was a disaster, a total failure to launch. They wouldn't understand that the depth of the excavation strictly determines the height of the building. You cannot build a 100-story tower on a shallow foundation. The wind would tear it down in a week. The sheer weight of the structure would crush its own base. The invisible work, the dirty work, the grueling, unglamorous work done down in the mud is the absolutely critical element that guarantees a tower will survive the storms that are inevitably coming. Right now, you are in the excavation phase of your life. You are not failing. You are digging. You are being hollowed out. Every single rejection, every silent night, every agonizing delay is a shovel scraping against the bedrock of your character, clearing away the soft, unstable dirt. It feels like you are losing ground because you're going down instead of up. It feels like a chaotic mess because excavation is inherently messy. But the architect does not doubt the reality of the building just because they are currently staring into a trench. The blueprint is already drawn. The permits are signed. The victory is already confirmed. The workers down in the mud aren't guessing if the building will ever exist. They are simply doing the necessary, grueling labor to catch reality up to the blueprint that is already finished. Your blueprint is already finished. The destination is secure. The victory is confirmed. It has been etched into the very fabric of who you are, woven into your DNA, printed on your spirit before you even knew how to articulate exactly what you wanted. That relentless drive you feel, that frustrating, beautiful, maddening refusal to just settle and be normal, that isn't a glitch in your programming. That is the echo of your inevitable future calling back to you. It is a finished tower whispering to the muddy foundation. We often misinterpret our pain as punishment. We look at the friction in our lives and assume we must have taken a wrong turn. We think if we were on the right path, this would all be so much easier. That is the biggest lie we are ever sold. The right path is almost never the easy path. The right path is usually the one covered in brambles, leading straight up a vertical cliff face, demanding every ounce of oxygen in your lungs. The friction isn't a sign that you are lost. The friction is a resistance required to build the specific muscle you will desperately need when you finally arrive at your destination. Imagine if you were handed everything you wanted right this very second. If the doors flew open, the bank account filled up, the relationships instantly healed, the dream career materialized completely out of thin air, would you actually be ready to sustain it? Or would the sudden, immense pressure that success crush your current, unrefined foundation? This delay is not a denial. This delay is your protection. Life is keeping you in the shadows a little bit longer to temper your steel. It is burning away your arrogance. It is burning away your reliance on cheap external validation. It is actively forcing you to find a quiet, unshakable source of validation from entirely within yourself. Because when you finally step into the light, the world is going to try to tear you down. People will criticize. The wind will howl. The storms of success are just as dangerous, if not significantly more so, than the quiet storms of failure. If your roots do not go incredibly deep into the dark, you will topple the moment you taste victory. You are being anchored. It hurts because anchoring requires drilling into hard stone. So when the doubt creeps in tonight, I want you to completely change the narrative. When that little voice whispers that you are entirely behind schedule, I want you to realize that time is completely irrelevant to genuine transformation. A caterpillar does not look at a calendar while it is dissolving inside the chrysalis. It doesn't panic because it's been in the dark for 12 days instead of 10. It simply surrenders to the violent, miraculous process of becoming something entirely new. You are dissolving. Your old coping mechanisms are failing because you no longer need them. Your old circles are shrinking because you are outgrowing the room. The intense isolation you feel isn't abandonment. It is a cocoon. You are being isolated so you can undergo a metamorphosis without the distracting, confusing opinions of people who are committed to misunderstanding you. The shift happens when you finally stop fighting the dirt. The shift happens when you look at the grueling reality of your current situation and say, okay, I am building the foundation. I am laying the rebar. I am pouring the concrete. You stop looking at other people's finished towers and feeling jealous. You realize their blueprint is totally different from yours. They built a comfortable, 3-story house. You are building the Empire State Building. Of course your excavation is taking longer. Of course your process is infinitely more painful. You are preparing to hold a massive amount of light. Your victory is not something you are desperately chasing down a long, impossible road. Your victory is confirmed. It is a fixed point in the future. You aren't trying to create out of thin air. You're simply walking toward it, shedding the versions of yourself that are too small to fit through the door when you finally arrive. Every time you choose to get out of bed, you are confirming it. Every time you refuse to become bitter, you are confirming it. Every single time you cry out your frustration into the silence and then quietly pick up the shovel again, you are sealing the inevitable outcome of this journey. Breathe out. Just let out that heavy breath you have been holding in your chest for months. Let your shoulders actually drop away from your ears. The frantic, desperate energy, the feeling that you have to fix everything right this exact second. You can let that go now. You don't have to force the dawn to break. The sun is going to rise exactly when it is meant to, regardless of how much you panic in the dark. Acceptance is a very quiet thing. It doesn't arrive with a loud crash or a sudden burst of overwhelming, cinematic joy. It doesn't mean you suddenly love the mud, or that the heavy days magically disappear into thin air. It just means you stop fighting the reality of the season you are in. It means you look around at the unfinished walls of your life, the messy foundation, the cold dirt, and you find a strange, gentle peace right there in the middle of construction zone. You stop demanding that the building be finished today. You make peace with the slow, deliberate pace of real growth. There's a profound, quiet strength in that kind of surrender. It is the strength of an old oak tree in the dead of winter. The tree doesn't cry because its leaves are gone. It doesn't rage against the snow. It simply pulls its energy deep down into its roots, waits in the freezing silence, and completely trusts the inevitable return of the spring. You can trust your spring. You do not have to be the loudest voice in the room to be the strongest. You don't have to perform your resilience for an audience. You don't have to post about your daily grind or constantly prove to anyone that you are still in the fight. The only person who needs to know you are still standing is you. So, be incredibly gentle with yourself today. If all you did was wake up and breathe, that is enough. If you gave 20% today because 20% was literally all you had left in your tank, then you gave everything. That is a massive victory. We need to completely redefine what winning looks like on the hardest days. Winning is making a warm cup of tea and sitting by the window for 5 minutes without looking at a screen. Winning is taking a hot shower and washing off the bitter weight of yesterday. Winning is forgiving yourself for not being a machine. You are a beautifully complex, deeply feeling human being who is navigating a terribly demanding world. Grace is the only way forward. You have to wrap yourself in so much grace that the sharp edges of the world can no longer cut you. When you finally embrace this quiet acceptance, the desperation fades. The anxiety loses its sharpest teeth. You realize that you are already okay. Right here, right now, in the messy, unresolved middle of your story, you are fundamentally whole. The victory is confirmed, yes. The beautiful future is waiting, yes. But you don't have to mortgage your current peace to buy your future happiness. You can sit in the dirt and still feel the warmth of the sun on your face. You can walk through the dark valley and still appreciate the cool evening breeze. The journey stops being a grueling marathon and simply becomes a walk. Just a walk. One foot in front of the other. moving steadily toward a destination that is already holding a space for you. There is no rush. There is no ticking clock. There is only you and the road and the quiet, unshakable knowing that you are going to be more than fine. You are going to be magnificent.